Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks for joining me today. Today I am participating in the Oh Inspired collaboration that is hosted by Crafty Owl. This occurs on the 20th of every month. This month we were inspired by Leslie Miller. She created this very beautiful floral card. And if you were inspired by one of our cards or the original card, you can use the hashtag I was oh so inspired on social media. If you'd like to find all of the participants in the collaboration today, you can use the hashtag OSICAPR 2023. And all of the details will be listed in the description of the video below, along with a list of all of the participants' YouTube channels. I was inspired by the color choices, so I'm going to use some blues and yellows and also a floral using a waffle flower die, and it's called Layered Abstract Flowers. And I've already gone ahead and started in on the coloring. And I'm going to color those with some Catherine Pooler inks in Suede Shoes and Stone Blue for the front and the back pieces. And then that middle piece, I'm using the color Daydream. But then for the front and the back, I went ahead and decided I wanted to use Juniper Mist as well, which is a really nice dark blue color. So I go back in and change that a little bit. But I wanted to mention that I am using Bristol Smooth Cardstock for my flower pieces. This background that I'm using, the white card panel you see there, that's a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 piece of accent opaque white paper. And I thought my idea was to go ahead and use the kind of the runoff piece where all of that ink is for my background, or at least part of it for my background. I always love the look when I'm ink blending and all of that extra that goes off of whatever you're ink blending is on some paper or a background. And so I thought I'd go ahead and use that as part of my card today. So you'll see how that fits in as I move along. But the flower piece and the stem for this flower, I am using my Zig brush markers, and I just went ahead and I scribbled some May green and olive green, and then took a wet brush and moved that color around, and then I went ahead and I spritzed all of those to get those beautiful watermarks and wiped that up with a paper towel. And then for the second flower that's in this set, it's more of a closed flower. It also has a stem and a leaf as well. There are two pieces to this, and I am using Catherine Pooler again, using Sauna and Tiki Torch are the two colors that I'm using, lighter and a darker. And then I went ahead and grabbed some white ink. This is Dr. P.H. Martin's pen ink, and wet that down, and I'm going to add some splatter. I didn't end up loving this. I love splatter, but I went a little bit overboard. I didn't end up loving this, so I go ahead and I make another set of flowers using the same colors, and I'm going to end up incorporating pretty much all of them into my card. So here I'm spritzing the background that was created with all that excess ink, and I will spritz that and see if I can get any watermarks, and then I'm going to set that aside. And then the assembly of the flowers is super easy. I always love to add dimension to my die cut flowers. I just think it looks really beautiful, and so I'm going to do the same thing with these flowers. For this middle piece, I just went ahead and laid that flat, and then the outside portion of the flower, I'm just going to take my fingers and kind of move that around to get it to have a little bit of movement to it, as well as a little bit of dimension. And then I will add a little bit of glue, and then there is a little tiny piece that comes in this die set, and I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be a part of the stem or like a stamen for the flower, so I just decided to go ahead and use it for a stamen, but I think it could be used either way. And once that piece is glued down, I am going to take some of those circle foam dots and put those underneath those two petals just to help hold them up and keep their shape. And then the assembly of the leaf is basically going to be the same. I will take my fingers and kind of give the leaves a little bit of movement, and then adhere that top leaf to the bottom portion, and then the flower will just sit right on top of that stem. And while I am assembling the rest of the flower, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the collaboration. As I mentioned, it's on the 20th of every month. And I, this month, really struggled to get an idea on a card that I was happy with. I tried several different things, and I just, for whatever reason, I think it's different to be inspired by something that you see in somebody else's work or out in the world, and create something off of that. And it's another thing to be like a part of this collaboration and have a piece that you might not have picked yourself, even though this was one of them that I voted on, because I really love it. But usually when I am inspired by something, it's a portion of something. Like I like a color, I like a texture or a layout or something like that. So I'm interested in, what are you inspired by? Does looking through Instagram or watching YouTube videos inspire you, or just things you see in the world? I'm inspired by so many things. I am visually I'm a very visual person, and seeing stuff like colors that look beautiful together, it just makes me super happy. And so that's usually how I get my inspiration for cards. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that background piece that I had done with all that extra ink blending on it and cut that into strips. And what I wanted to do was to create a panel that was split on one side and raised up. And so I'm taking a white piece of 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 paper, and I'm just going to cut out a little section so that I can put that little color strip in between those and have it kind of sunken underneath. And so I am using some double-sided foam to go ahead and add to the back of those two pieces. I started out picking out one of those colored strips from my background, and then I changed it up because it's so silly, but I cut it too short, and the piece that that little tiny piece that probably wouldn't have been noticed, it bothered me enough to go ahead and use a different strip. But they all look pretty much the same, so that was good. And so I'm going to go ahead and just adhere that strip, or adhere those white pieces on top. And then, as I mentioned before, I went ahead and I made some extra flowers because I wasn't entirely happy with all that splatter. And so I just went ahead and I cut a leaf off of the second flower, and I'm going to adhere that because I liked the leaf on the other flower better than the first one, whatever, right? And so I went ahead and cut that off and added it. And then for the sentiment, it just says mom, and I will add a sentiment on the inside of the card later. But this is a mom die from Simon Says Stamp. So I went ahead and I stacked several pieces of white paper, and then I'm using the same kind of background piece that I used for my ink blending to cut out the main mom word. And then I have my layout here, but I don't get it exactly right. So what ends up happening is that stem right there is kind of hanging out in the middle of nowhere. And so I tried to cover that up using an extra leaf. And then I'm going to add a little bit of bling with this Calls for Confetti mix. This one's called Nancy Loves the Beach, which I believe was inspired by Nancy May the Handy Scandy. She's on YouTube and Instagram, and I think she's super awesome and talented. So I'm pretty sure that's where the, if I'm wrong, let me know. But I thought that's where the name of that mix came from. So for the die cut, I went ahead and I created kind of like a bridge. So there's foam on each side of the mom word, just because it's going to be sitting on something that's raised in those flowers. And so by creating that kind of little bridge, I guess you could say, it just kind of bridges over that, and it's stable on each side. But that is my card for today. I hope you enjoyed and were inspired. If you were, please go ahead and give this video a like and a comment. And don't forget to go ahead and check out everybody else in the collaboration. I think you're going to love it. As always, thanks so much for spending some time with me today, and I hope to see you next time.